we're going to figure out what kind of train wreck this is going to be. Holy fuck, I think we found the right button.
Holy
there it
shit.
is.
Yeah, that means it's time for Warhammered. It's
Brought to you by Second Pitch.
Brought to you by Second Pitch Beer Company.
Jesus.
We're here in the BattlePub studios.
You shouldn't have to get in your own, like the guy, he should get.
I know.
Yeah,
I know,
I was
right?
kidding there. He beat me to it. But
I just wanna make sure
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Warhammered. There you go.
Thank you.
But we're here
should-
for games, drinks, and hijinks, and I'm here with these two
Perfect.
fucking whatever you are.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, we'll go with
scholars.
that. We'll throw that word around. Why not?
That word gets thrown around a lot these days.
Yeah, right.
Well,
So it is brought to you by Second Pitch Beer Company. I'm Jazz. That's Big Jim, and that's Beer Jim, and that's how we're going to separate it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
when last we left you,
last week on Warhammer,
Is there like a recap thing?
it's like a recap.
Yeah.
Now's the montage. Plays,
Yeah, the montage
That's
plays.
not going to happen. That's way too much effort.
Nah.
Like it's not going to. We were having a discussion about who was at fault.
Yeah.
Russ and Magnus. And apparently there's some strongly held beliefs here about who's right and who's wrong. And I think where it's really landing is that Beer Jim and I understand the actual scenario, and then you're wrong.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, I'm like, okay. But before we get into all this thing, the real person who is at fault
Is the
in this whole
Emperor.
entire thing is A, the Emperor,
Yeah.
and B, Horus. Right? We're just going to admit that.
Sure, and everybody else is
because
collateral.
everybody else is just was tricked and fooled and
Right.
made to look like a fucking idiot the entire time.
Yeah.
Like those two guys were the real architect behind
so
this.
okay, and he's right. So the Space Wolves have one job. Okay, they've been able to do it
Moderately.
probably twice, and we know they did it. They censored the fucking
Second Legion. Wait, second.
They censored two legions. They
Two
censored.
No,
They censored.
so one Legion got lost, and then
Well,
the
no.
other Legion got censored.
So there are the two lost legions.
Yeah,
which is the
which
censored and the
I have
lost.
a theory. on
And then
them.
they've also been around to censor two. The Space Wolves have been around for two more Legion censors, which was the World Eaters,
World Leaders.
where the famous where basically the World Eaters came in and was like, hey, we're just gonna fucking wreck shop here.
Yeah.
The Space Wolves are saying that we're doing something wrong and we're just going to start killing everybody. Space Wolves fought as like a unified army where they were getting destroyed, but they had a guard or an actual setup a perimeter
Yep.
around their two Primarchs, and they had like hundreds of guns pointed at Angron. And Angron was saying like, well, I won because I was about to kill Lehman Russ. And they're like, no, you goddamn idiot. We were going to destroy you because we had 100 guns pointed
right.
at
It was
you.
like it's sort of kind of draw. Like they both kind of they both rolled away and licked their wounds and
licked their
whatever.
wounds, and both of them said we won.
Yeah.
But it's also talked about in one of the books. I think it's Betrayer. If I'm incorrect, sorry. Where the big dickhead.
That narrowed it down.
Logar was talking to Angron about this thing, and he was like Angron, you don't see it, do you? Like you lost. And he was like, no, I was about to win. And he was like, no, just because you're about to beat the single guy in front of you, you lost the war.
Sure.
You guys had lost.
But at the same time,
And then
I have a soft
let me
spot for
finish my
Angron,
But then,
right?
but then
yeah.
he did censor another one, which was
Thousand Suns.
Thousand Suns. But who censored the World Bearers?
The Word Bearers?
Word Bearers. Was that Gilliman?
Oh, that wasn't until like way the fuck later on.
Yeah, way the fuck later on where they.
Well,
but
my point was he's only kind of done his job a couple of times. So the minute Horus is like, hey, you got a chance to go do your job,
Mhm.
he's all about it. And I get he's
Okay.
a little thick in the head.
In the Magnus situation,
Mhm.
was Magnus wrong or was Russ wrong?
Magnus shouldn't have done what he did.
Why shouldn't have Magnus done what
He should have found another way to do it.
I
How are
agree
you
with
going
that.
to get that information across the galaxy in time?
Look, man,
you got okay. You have a bunch of sorcerers, right? You're the Sorcerer Legion.
yeah.
You saying you can't manipulate warp currents and stuff to get your ship?
they did.
A single ship.
See, he's
to
taking
get
my
there
point for me.
as fucking fast as you can to Terra and be like, hey guys.
But how many of
This
his
guy's
own people
fucked.
did they nuke so that he could try and get that
Right.
message back to Terra? Like
Yeah.
it roasted the brain of like so
So
many
I think
people.
Bear
to get
Jim is
there.
kind of coming around.
I am a little bit, yeah, actually.
So
I might have switched sides.
There,
I
may,
just horsed the shit out of
there
you.
was another way to do
It's
this,
just
especially since they knew the Emperor was up to something. Maybe
But
not
they
knowing
didn't
what-
at that point. Like, so Horus's daddy issues come from we were out and Daddy kept giving me gold stars and he kept patting me on the head and telling me that I was pretty.
Mhm.
And then he was like, you're doing such a good job that you get to just go do this and I'm gonna fuck off back home.
Sure.
But didn't really give him any sort of like reasoning. It was just like, because Daddy said so.
Yeah, a
So he
memo would have
fucking
done
left,
a
right?
memo would have done wonders in this
Right.
whole situation.
So then Horace is out there and he's and he's then he gets hurt and they're whispering in his ear and blah 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 blah. We probably should talk about what the fuck the heresy is even first. But
Yeah,
fuck
right.
it, most of the people that are listening to this show probably know what the
and
fuck
then they
we're talking
probably are be like, no. Look, guys, what we explained to you in the first episode is
we
you're
don't
getting a
care.
tangential fluff conversation.
You are
but really,
listening
we just
to
drink beer.
a gaming podcast
Sponsored by a beer company.
If you want to know where the priorities are of us three idiots getting together,
Yeah. So there might be fast and loose with it, but you get the general idea. But my point was kind of down the road is I think the bigger thing is it's because we've talked about the heresy. We've talked about the Siege of Terror. I think Games Workshop is going to have to come around and be like, hey, this is what happened to the 2 Lost Legions. I think people want to know, and I get why they didn't because it allows people to create their own legions, but people do that anyway. You can do that anyway with the second founding. It's not that big a deal.
So my whole theory
That's a good point. That's an excellent point.
My theory about the missing legions.
What you want to know?
Yeah, I would love to know.
And it gives them a lot of story arc, right? And and my theory about the 2 Lost Legions is that quite literally we're like, fuck, we've written a lot of story. Like, let's just we're just like,
I cannot do
I don't
two
know
more
how
of
many
these.
times I can comb through history and figure out some offshoot of
Right,
humanity.
right,
to all
yeah.
of a
But
sudden
essentially,
write the
I think it's
Legion
also
back.
crazy convenient that they just were like, we'll write 90% of it. It's like
Yeah.
10%
Like
of the
they ran out of
legions are
steam
missing.
at some point.
Yeah.
They're like, I can't do this. Mark Gaskin and those guys were just like, I'm done.
Well, and a lot of those guys, you got to keep in mind that like Abnett and those boys did great work with the lore, right?
Yeah.
And really fleshed it out. But they had to write lore that already fit in like big, huge quotes, right?
Yeah.
Fit in established lore.
That was half-assed
wasn't-
at best.
No, 100%. It was just enough lore to sell models.
Yeah.
Like that was
Right.
It
fucking
didn't. Nothing
right?
made sense. I'm like there was a.
It was
There's
just enough lore to sell models and get you to paint them certain colors.
Yeah,
Like,
wasn't there a Space Marine that was like from the first edition that was like half elf or something like that? Like there was a Space Marine that was like considered half elf, and they completely like after they finally started to do like
the whole purity thing.
yeah.
After
After
Yeah,
that,
but now-
they just like forgot about it.
It's also weird shit that you have firstborn Space Marines, right? That other than combat are functionally immortal.
Right.
But you've got one of them that's like dying of old age. And it's like,
Well, I mean, like,
what?
yeah.
But they can't. Like they're constantly regenerating.
Yeah.
So
like Dante,
you can't-
Dante deserves a nap. Dante deserves a
he
nap.
deserves
Like,
ease up, buddy.
He just needs to
have
take
a seat.
Have a
like
seat.
take a
just
knee, drink
take a
some
knee,
water. Like you're
get
good
a
to go.
dog in a recliner and just call it a fucking afternoon. You're good, bro.
But now I'm with you though. It would be dope if they're holding those 2 legions in reserve to be some sort of big story turning point.
Yeah.
Now I have theories about from the game side what's going to end up happening. So the 3 of us are in an interesting situation, right? Because like I play and I kind of know the lore. You're pretty good with the 40K lore and you play when you can.
Yes.
You don't play at all and only read the lore.
Right.
So the perspective I'm going to give you is going to be from a game store owner and
Business standpoint.
and from a business
Sure.
standpoint. So I think 10th edition is going to come out in June. So for those of you that don't know this, Games Workshop functions on a June to June fiscal year. That's their calendar. So that's why their big, huge releases are always in June.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the big box sets, the big game drops, like all of that stuff happens in June to kick off their year with as big a sales as they possibly can.
Okay.
So 9th edition came out in 2019.
God, was that long ago?
Yeah, that was the big Indominus box. Was 2019.
God, that was,
Yeah.
So that now their game functions on about a 4-year life cycle.
Okay.
It's about 4 years and the edition gets reset.
Okay.
It's an average. Don't go into be like, well, 7th edition actually lasted. I don't fucking care. So it's about a 4-year average life cycle.
Mhm.
Now, in my opinion, the rule set and based on the player base I've talked to, the rules are not in a great place right now. People are very dissatisfied with the game.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
They need a hard reset. They got Heresy out. It's a great rule set. It plays super well. It's their best-selling story. Now they have a game that properly supports it. It's accessible. It's a great business move on their part. It's less expensive. Like, it's a great game to get into. That being said, now they need to do something with 9th edition. They have beat this story to death, and they've lost the story. Like, the big Indomitus drop was supposed to be this whole, like, Space Marines and the Necrons were supposed to be doing this huge dynasty thing. Other than the first set drop, they have done fuck all with the Necrons. There's been no story, no push. We found the squats again. Call them whatever you want. They're fucking squats. I know they're the leagues of Votan now, but they're the squats. So the squats are back. They broke up the Eldar. They've done all this other stuff to set the game up to where you have delineated factions. Now, it would be awful convenient if in 10th edition, some major things happened and we saw another Imperial fracture, because it would allow all of the story. So you've been reading the newer novels.
Yeah.
So you read all of the Shadow Behind the Throne stuff.
Yeah.
Last book of Shadow Behind the Throne, there's a conversation that happens about somebody maybe getting off of a chair.
Right.
Now,
Who's that?
could it be that Big Daddy E might actually just stand the fuck up
Just stretch it out.
and just be like, oh, that was a hell of a nap, and then just like go walking
What
around?
the hell happened with that?
Now-
that was weird.
I say all of that because there's some parallels we can draw, right? How long has he been on the throne? The golden throne. The
10,000 years.
10,000 years. Okay. Do we know the story of Slanesh? Does everybody familiar of how in the
Slaanesh-
40K universe, how Slanesh came
Well,
about?
Slanesh was made by the Eldar because they went to they started becoming more indulgent on their.
For how long?
I don't know, actually.
So
10,000 years?
it was
Is it
10,000 years of
Really?
debauchery.
Yes, yeah.
And that
Bum, bum,
energy getting pumped into the warp, because that's what the warp is.
Yeah.
It's just a
emotion and
it's a
energy.
realm of emotion.
Yeah.
Birthed this god.
Do you think
Took 10,000
Do you think
years.
Big E's getting birthed?
So, well, let's check the marks. Okay. Big E comes into existence because a shamanistic cabal does ritualistic suicide as a group.
Theoretically, that they've backed that Raycon a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well,
Okay, we're gonna
either
go.
way.
Either way,
Right?
Okay,
Keeping up with the retconning is
it
like
is
a
insane.
yes.
Yeah, but okay,
But-
well, I'm following you.
So they do
Yeah.
that, pushes all their energy into the warp. They coalesce that energy and birth Big E. Okay? Now, retconned or not, we know that in the canon, he cut a deal with warp knowledge
Yes.
in order to find out how to make his Primarchs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
100%.
is warp knowledge.
100%.
That was the gods gave him that knowledge to make
Right.
his sons. He then didn't pay back his debt, so they yeeted his sons across the galaxy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that's
that's not retcon. That is in the story, and it's literally in the
was a
Word Bearers. It's in the Word Bearers novel. They like get that flashback and get to see the whole damn thing.
It's
Right?
a hard yeet.
Yep. And they do. They just right.
Yeah.
Just
So
so
and then also, I just finished the novel, the Valdor one.
Yeah,
Birth
I was
of
gonna
Imperium.
bring
Did
that
you read
up
that?
in a
Did you
minute,
read that one?
Yeah.
That one is just a wealth of that kind of beginning knowledge right there. But anyway, sorry.
So that all happens. So we know he's got that knowledge. We know he's aware of the warp and nobody else is. Now, he's the strongest psyker in the galaxy.
Yes.
Mhm.
Nobody outdoes this man,
Mhm.
right? He's aware of what it's doing, can do the whole psychic link thing from across the galaxy, knows what people are thinking, knows what's going on. So all of these underground cults that are worshiping him, there's no way he's just unaware all of this
Sure.
stuff is out there, right?
Right.
So he's kind of suppressing it and does the whole like, don't worship me, da 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 da. But it keeps him humble. And everybody's like, no, but it should. Even one of his sons. And all he kind of does every once in a while with the sons is like, hey, you gotta knock that off.
Yeah.
Like
Stop.
he's
Stop.
yeah,
Come on, I know I'm great, but stop.
Yeah,
Come on,
and I'm a
guys.
great guy, but God is a little
It's
carried away.
just,
So-
Demi's fine.
Yeah. And so all of this goes down, right? The fight happens. Although we know he has future sight and knows like what should be going on. We also know that Alfarius, prior to him getting injured, has the future sight because he deals with that Xenos cabal.
Yeah.
And that Farseer
Yeah.
lets him see the future.
Yeah.
We don't get told what he sees. He just comes out and says, the Alpha Legion will always follow the true vision of the Emperor, not
The Emperor.
We will hold up the empire.
You're right.
No, just the true vision of the emperor, we will always support.
Okay.
That's all they ever say.
Okay.
So he gets put on the throne. The big fight happens. He gets the stabby stab. He nukes his kid, sends him physically gone, but we know that emotion has to go somewhere, and he's warp linked.
Mm-hmm.
So now Horus is just poof, magically, right? All gone.
Mm-hmm.
Then he gets, oh no, I'm so hurt. Although this man can heal titans by touching them and like bring other people back to life and whatever, but he can't just be like, he just fix his shit. But like, so he gets put on the throne and gets fed 1,000 psychers a day,
which is an outrageous number
for 10,000 years.
Outrageous number.
While his sons that are still around and the rest of the empire builds a church and spends 10,000 years putting all of this psychic energy,
all this worship,
into claiming him as a god, while he exists in the warp as a beacon, which means that he can be seen by the other gods, and they just haven't bothered to go over and just slap him around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, he's just a lighthouse in the warp that everybody else can see. So you're telling me that this human that's piloting a ship can see the Emperor from across the galaxy, but like Korn can't just be like, there's that motherfucker
there
right there.
He is.
You owe me some shit. I'm like, nope, I don't believe it for a second. So I totally think, and then we had the whole Gilliman thing where he possesses Gilliman, tells Morty, I could save you, but it's not time yet. Pitches him back in, destroys half of Nurgle's garden, brings Gilliman back from the dead from across the galaxy.
Yeah.
Like, and then exits Gilliman's body, and Gilliman's fine. And now we're 10,000 years. The rumors that he's going to stand up. All the other sons have been rumored that they're now getting closer to home. So what happens if Big Daddy E stands up and goes, just kidding, I am a god. Like, you should absolutely worship me. And all of the original sons that went and spread the imperial truth of religion is toxic, it's a poison, it's only knowledge. Like, knowledge and science is all we should worry about.
Bring back.
I think what you end up with is you end up with a second betrayal, but it's the emperor and these sons that feel like.
Yeah,
so that means you're going to get Gilliman, Dorn, Sanguinius, Russ,
Vulcan,
which is Vulcan's alive. You know,
well, he's a perpetual. He can't die
somewhere.
Yeah. Well, Korax is that weird warp thing that's going on.
He's coming back, and then you're going to get Jagadai Khan is going to come back from wherever the fuck he is.
Yeah, but because we already know that Morty's a demon prince, so he's still around.
Yeah. I wasn't even talking about the bad guys.
In the game, we're getting a new Angron. They're releasing a new demon Angron plastic model in 40K.
Fantastic.
So he looks great. The model's beautiful, right?
And I wish
he's coming
I
back.
wish I was slightly artistic.
Lehman Russ is never, or not Lehman Russ. Magnus the Red never went anywhere. We already know where he is, right? So
Perturabo is a demon prince.
Perturabo's a demon prince.
Hasn't left his
Alpha Legion is still around. Alfarius still has his. They've never fully fallen.
Alfarius or Omega?
So this is the same dude.
Yeah.
Alfarius, his full name is Alfarius Omegon. He's the beginning and the end. He's the 20th, but also the first found. Like it's
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the Alpha Legion, but you're the 20th Legion. So you're the first, but also the last. But he was also the first found. Be awful convenient if you find him first and you'd seen the future. So you dump all your secrets into this dude that happens to look like the rest of his Legion and can go. And he's going, I will always follow the vision of the Emperor. And then you fuck off for a while the Emperor fucks off for a while. And then you just kind of pop out every once in a while and kind of push things in a certain direction and then disappear again. And those are my boys.
And then Lorgar is still is in constant commune.
Right.
So
praying. Now run the numbers down. What do you end up with if you start looking at which Primarchs would be cool with the fact that Big Daddy E is now a warp god? And which Primarchs would be upset with it? And how big is the split? Looks to me like roughly 50-50, doesn't it?
But you're going to get, you're going to get.
That's weird. I don't know.
No,
I mean, I like because there are a lot of things.
They can go, how long? So how long did the Heresy series last? 14 years, would you say? Would you say how long?
The Heresy?
Yeah, the series.
Like
books.
20 years.
19 years.
19 years.
19 years to get all the books out.
You could do 19 years of, hey, this guy came back, and then we'll fuck around for a couple of years. And then this guy comes
all you
back.
have to do is that he comes out and says, I have knowledge beyond what we have ever held. You
Yep.
shall now worship me as a god.
Yep.
And the domain of man is not just the materium, but the immaterium as well.
Yep.
And we'll have both. Sure would be mighty funny if he was able to get Horus's energy back out of the warp and prop him up as the immaterium emperor while Big Daddy E handled the materium. And then the ones that would feel betrayed.
I'm seeing. Okay. I have a couple of arguments for your point.
Okay, what do you got?
Okay, so we've always known that there is going to be a massive turn with the last book of the Horus Heresy.
Right.
That has been
The
hinted
last
at.
Terra thing. Yeah.
The last Terra thing, like with the Siege of Terra, they've always been saying like everything is not what you think it is,
yeah.
and so that could be maybe that like, hey, the Emperor is not that hurt. And he goes to the Golden Throne willingly because that's all of his plan.
Whatever the conversation
It's
he
also
has with
super
Horus
convenient
on
that
the
that thing was
fucking
able to
on
be
the battle
built
barge
so
is
damn
gonna
fast.
is gonna be the push. Like whatever happens, there's gonna be a conversation and then a battle.
Yeah,
right?
but maybe the original story is that like the Emperor is so wounded, is so hurt.
That
That
is,
the only
you're right.
way you have that, so that would be the thing where he's like, oh no, I'm not that bad, but I have to go do this now for 10,000 years. I'm going to peace out, become a god, and then this is the only
then
way I can really make sure that humanity is
And
safe from these.
You got to look at the
chaos
lifespan
wars.
of the Emperor at this point, right? So even a 10,000 year move, he gets hurt in the year 30,000. And if you look at his lore, they're saying that he's been around since like
Before
ever.
that,
Like ever. Like,
ever.
That,
Yeah.
I mean, there's the whole joke about like every major emperor, warlord, anything in the history of humanity has been him.
Yeah.
But all of them. He's changed his name, but it's always been that guy.
Yeah.
From the good to the wicked. Like the whole like he was Attila, he was Hitler, he was Lincoln,
Caesar.
he was Caesar, he was Alexander. Like he was, all of them were him. Everything that steered humanity into a certain direction.
Any major twist that we've had in humanity,
it's always been him.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get hurt till year 30,000. So this man's already spent, fuck it, let's be generous. And at this point, we'll say 40,000 years. We'll say 10,000 years of recorded history.
Yeah.
And then year 30,000. So we'll go that far. So 40,000 years. And he goes, all right, so I got to spend 10,000 years on this chair where I'm going to be connected to what's going to make me a god based on my 50,000 year plan.
And this is the only way I can really make humanity okay.
He's in the last 20% run. What's 10,000 years at that point? Like,
and then the other thing is like when I just listened to the Valdor Birth of the Imperium. There's a slight conversation in there between Malkador and Valdor where they're talking about the Emperor because he's not there, and they say it's something like Malkador is like, oh, is he still like Valdor's like, is he still like pretty human now? And Valdor's like, or Malkador's like, it's coming and going. It's a conversation about like that kind of thing where they like, oh, he's still holding on to his humanity, and it's like, it's starting to ebb.
So
it's starting to ebb,
and then
that is this is after he got his
Valdor's
war power.
coming back, or he is back. He's out there, the King in Yellow. Abnett's been writing about him, and they've said straight up that that's who he is, and the things he's doing
make no sense in like the normal lore.
They don't, and it certainly don't make sense as far as what a custodian is supposed to be doing, but he's doing it.
Yeah.
So
and then there's that kind of conversation, and it's always in those little conversations that feel kind of out of place.
Yeah.
In
And
these
with that
novels.
custodes thing too, you need to keep in mind how custodes are made. There's a difference between how custodes are made and how Space Marines are made. And that's why, like, even in the gameplay, why custodes are considered an elite army. Like, if you have 30 Space Marines, you might have enough points to get maybe 10 custodes, like in the play. They're just that much stronger, but they were never human. These aren't upgraded humans.
No.
These are straight up lab rats.
Yeah.
Like, they're essentially tiny Primarchs is how they were made. Because there was
the way I've always took that look at custodes is that their Primarch is the Emperor.
100%.
Yeah. Their Primarch is the Emperor, like whereas a Space Wolf or a Dark Angel or an Ultramarine
are gene-seeded off the
Primarch.
But their
Primarch
no
is the
gene
Emperor.
seed for the custodes. These guys are just manufactured.
That's just them.
And so you can give them the best of the best. And it kind of makes you wonder about the whole statement that the Emperor made about like, they shall have the best equipment. They shall bear the best armor. They shall know no fear. It's like, are you really talking about Space Marines or are you talking about these Golden Boys? Because these Space Marines got flaws and these Golden Boys,
they got nothing.
They just
flaw. They don't fight fight in concert with each other. They're one man
They
armies.
are completely independent,
Yeah.
which is actually commented on in several of the books
Yeah.
when the
Mhm.
Space Marines are
Yep.
watching them,
Yep.
and they do the whole like, I don't know what it is, but something doesn't look right. Are they lethal? Yes. Are they a weapon? Yes. But in watching them fight, there's something that doesn't sit right with me. And then they make all the comments about like, they don't fight together. There
Right,
is no
that's
brotherhood
not what
here.
they do,
It is
yeah.
just
They're individual people that
Yeah.
are doing their individual.
But the fact of the
things.
matter is that weapons don't have emotions. Like that's just is what it is. Like
Yeah. And they are just weapons.
they are straight up just a weapon.
Yeah.
You know you're a bad motherfucker when you can send like 10 custodes to keep an entire legion in check. When you're just like,
Yeah, and that's
we're
the whole
just
job
here to
is- yeah.
babysit. Like,
Well, yeah,
you
I
a
mean,
bad
they kinda
dude.
keep- they keep
Oh, we're
track-
just hanging out.
keep
We're just
track-
hanging out. We're just watching. We're just watching.
So,
Yeah, I'm like that is an interesting theory, but I'm like, we talk about like how that would change the game, like as a business standpoint.
yeah.
Having the Emperor stand up is just like, where do you go from there, though?
Well, it's, to me, that's what I'm saying is that what we end up with is you end up with Heresy 2.0.
Mhm.
So it gives you a reason to bring all the Primarchs back into the fold.
Yep.
Because the only thing that would stand a chance against that, right, is going to be a unified Primarch front.
Mhm.
It's the only, and even then, it's kind of like, I don't know, he's kind of just
Too much.
right hand strong and like Primarchs mentally. Like he's not even in the fight. He's just throwing people around, right?
What
Now,
do you mean, the Emperor versus
the Emperor
Primarch?
versus Primarchs.
Oh, yeah,
And so
no.
it doesn't matter how many Primarchs are there. It's like, how does this even
This isn't even
matter,
fair.
right?
Yeah.
Like, because we know haven't seen the final book, the final fight, and all that kind of stuff, right? But we know in the story so far, in the fight where he gets wounded against Horus, he's pulling punches. Like he's not
Right, 'cause
actually
thinks
because he thinks.
Horse is gonna.
Well, there's that
at
he gets
some
that
point,
he gets that
he's gonna be
glimpse
like, "Oh, I
of
made a
my
mistake."
son is still in there.
Yeah.
Which has come out when
more
Russ
than- yeah.
when Russ stabbed him with the Spear of Destiny
Yeah.
or the Spear of whatever it's called. You know, that came
Longinus.
through. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's been around
Appreciate
since Christ. So yeah, I mean, they don't.
So
But
he's pulling punches
but
until he
a lot of
realizes
this,
like,
it
oh, I
is-
can't.
it is-
And then
Then
he
he's
literally
like,
just and then he
"Fuck,
just
all
goes
right,
like, okay, I think you're dead. And then and it's
Yeah.
still like it's like holy shit.
Yeah.
Like that's
just yeah, A-bombed him right there.
yeah, like it's brutal, right? But
so you're gonna have a bunch of loyalist Primarchs.
but
The
my thing
good
is like,
guys. Yeah, the
But
good
what they're
guys
going to be-
against.
the what we would classify as the loyalist Primarchs will now be the ones that are outside
Side
the Imperium.
Imperium, yeah.
And they will go, wait, this isn't what we were made for. I didn't go crusade and fight a civil war
Yeah.
to maintain this for you to come back and say you're a god and the church is right and
Yeah.
to absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that make us? Does that make us officially demigods?
Yeah.
Like you got 20 Jesuses just walking around? Like what? That's not how this works. So I think what you're going to end up with is you end up with Heresy 2.0, except for the heretic this time is the Emperor himself. So, and
you
then
could do it like that,
Mm-hmm.
where it starts with the Emperor doing all this stuff, or to
a
do
good
it in the
thought.
reverse. Everybody starts coming back and they have issues. So Dorn comes back and says,
I
I
think
don't.
that's going to be, yeah.
You get mileage out of both ways,
yeah,
but your point I think you were trying to make is if the Emperor's back, how the hell is anybody going to win?
Yeah.
Like nobody's
Yeah.
beating the fight.
But also,
I don't care if you've got
Oh, no.
10 dudes.
I have my theory on that, right?
but it's also I'm saying
Well,
more as like a business standpoint.
yeah, right.
Where it's just like a business, not even like with the lore and everything
Yeah.
like that. As Games Workshop, like there gets to a point where like the Emperor's back and all this stuff, and so these hard held beliefs of the lore of like the Emperor has been on the throne for 10,000 years, he's completely immobile, and everyone's just fucking guessing at what what he actually wants. That is now blown up.
well,
and
because
so basically
every
the game,
single
the
time
game
there's a
is blown up.
conversation
Yeah.
with him is he walks in the room and the door closes. And then he
Yeah.
comes out and goes, this is what the Emperor has told me. And
Yeah.
it's like, but we never hear the conversation.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's fucking like Wizard of Oz shit.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but
And-
I have a theory on. So the Emperor comes out and says, "I'm a god," and all the boys, like the word bearers and stuff, come up and be like, "I fucking told you so." Right?
I know
I
it.
said this shit.
Dad
Fucking-
knew it.
why the fuck
You
do
owe me
this?
$20.
Yeah. So they're all cool with it. And Morty's like, "Does that mean I get to keep these wings? Because I don't know, these giant testicle flaps look great." And it's like,
I like being tall.
I like being. I'm huge.
Huge.
So,
You seen my
Right?
spear?
and then Magnus might be like, "Can I lose the titty horns? These are ridiculous.
Can,
I
yeah,
don't-
with that's a
I
whole
can't even
different
move my
pod.
head left and right."
That's
Like-
a whole different pod where
It's
we're
just-
talking about that.
So just craziness, right? But then all the loyalist ones, The original loyalist Marines go, what have we done? Like, because you need to keep in mind, prior to the Great Crusade, so the whole, we're going to reunify humanity and suffer not the Xenos to live and the galaxy was kind of trucking along. Like, the humans had gone out there, they'd seeded planets, they were doing trade with other species and a lot of which are in the game, some of them aren't, So all of a sudden you have these loyalists that come in, they get together and be like, was it really that bad prior to us going and just nuking everybody because we had this blind belief in our father that said that this is what needed to be done? Yeah. And, you know, everything was evil except for us.
So are we going to have like woke Primarchs?
No, I think what you're going to get is maybe we roll this bitch back. So the original loyalist Primarchs become the reset Primarchs, and they go, the only way to do this now is to undo everything we did.
And I'm just about to say this.
Well, we know Gilliman's already in bed with the Eldar.
Imperious.
Well, he only lives because of the Eldar. So
he gets those guys. Maybe you make a deal with the Necrons.
So my thing is,
are we going to roll? I'm going to say something. Imperious Secundus. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Shit?
Oh, maybe, yeah. No. Okay. Yep. So
now, and then that has been a huge point in the new books of them being like, Gilliman does not want that to get out.
Like, that can't get out.
Yeah, that can't get out. Yeah. Like, Imperious Secundus, like, hey, we thought everything was fucked. We thought it was all done. We needed to start over from scratch.
Hard reset.
We're going to hard reset.
All right, Sanguinius, guess what, dude? You're the guy now.
Yeah, you're the guy. Congratulations.
You were the guy, now you're the guy again.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing, right?
So,
is that, like,
I'm just throwing that out there.
Like, but now let's look at the business aspect. All of a sudden, we bring the Leagues of Votann back. Never technically part of the Empire, right? But were tolerated because they were close enough to humans that it was like,
rats
like
and
us.
ogres.
You're like us, but tiny.
Yeah. Like ratlins and ogrins.
So, well, those are still allowed in.
Yeah,
you can have ogres. There's formations,
but those have been part of the Imperial Guard. We tolerate them, right? But the squats, the Leagues of Votann, the squats, they like disappeared. They like left the galaxy for a while. Then they came back. And the Mechanicum has never really been happy with their deal that they cut with Earth. So Mars has always kind of been doing its thing. And apparently they've got a fucking dragon. Like, just chilling.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Cetan or the Cetan.
No, they have shards of the Cetan, but those belong to the Necron. The Necron have gathered those.
Yeah,
the old,
they got the dragon that lives in the
They have that star dragon that they embedded that's in the middle of Mars.
What the fuck's a star dragon?
Yeah. We haven't gone into that. Yeah.
It apparently literally like births galaxies and shit. Like, it's like stupid powerful. But it would be really interesting if all of a sudden we roll
Gilliman
closer.
Be riding in on a fucking star dragon?
No. What I think you end up happening is that you end up with a coalition force.
Sure.
So you have the 10 original loyal Primarchs that are now going, it's time to hit the reset button. Yep. And all these people that we said were evil and we need to get rid of, like the Eldar that tried to warn us, and all of these people, especially with Alfarius and all the people he met with. That, and all of a sudden you go to these other races that already have this whole, like, we have to stop this or it's going to destroy the galaxy.
Yeah.
Alfarius knows all of that because, like, the Eldar were there.
There's going to be an awful lot of humble fucking Primarchs having to be like, we fucked up. We were wrong.
Yep. And my boy Alfarius comes out and just goes, like, here's what we have to do.
They're humble. They're humble people.
I can see Russ be like, I'm sitting this shit out. I'm going back to Fenris. But fuck you all.
You know, I could just picture Lee Russ being like, you know what, my bad, guys.
Is going to be like, fuck, I got my own problems. Dorn and Gilliman are they're gonna be fine. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. Korax just wants to go run around.
Dorn and Vulcan are gonna be pissed at Gilliman for allowing this to happen. Because Gilliman could have stopped it.
I think in a 10-minute fucking soliloquy in the books, Gilliman could have been like, hey, look, I had bigger problems. I thought I was doing the right fucking thing.
So I let this Xenos bring me back to life, and then I cut a deal with the Mechanicum, and then at the same time, I let a church happen that I went and fought a great crusade for to show the whole world that
there's some mistakes. It was a little rocky. Give me a break. But I've also got 500 worlds, and you need to run a war. We're behind you. Okay,
yeah, until Alfarius comes out and be like, I can bring 4 Xenos armies to bear.
Okay.
To go reset the galaxy. And let's not forget that there's a giant bug swarm that's coming in too.
Like the great eraser.
The Tyranids are still a fucking thing.
Yeah, but nobody's going to be like, hey, we want to run a deal. I mean, they're just.
But you have the GSC, you have the Gene Stealer cults, the ones that actually you could cut the deal with that control where the Hive fleet goes. So you could cut that deal, and you could be like, "Look, leave the Terran sector alone." So, but help
Do you
us
think the Great
reset these
Devourer
other ones.
gives a shit about that?
I think the GSC is all about efficiency, and the Great Devourer is going to look at it as, we cut the deal now, and in 5,000 years, we can just loop back around, and we'll pick it up on the back loop.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
We'll
Keep
worry
on
about
going
that
through.
There are parts and pieces of your theory that work. I think it's going to happen in reverse, though. I think
Really?
I think you can have the Primarchs come back, and certain guys are going to come back. The big ones are going to come back.
They're all going to come back.
Right.
Except for the dead ones. We're not getting Sanguinius. I'm sorry, but he's dead.
The models
Like,
are already made.
they're out there.
Sitting
It's a
there. They're
thing.
ready to
Yeah,
go.
Sanguinius is supposed to be dead. Like
he's dead. But the thing is that the rest of the models are there.
Yeah.
Gilliman already has a model.
Yeah.
Morty already has a model. Angron already has a model.
I'm
Magnus
just
already has a
talking about
model.
the good guys, because the bad guys are all around. They're all
And they
there.
didn't go around. What I'm saying is it would be really convenient for them if all of a sudden it's also, I find it really convenient. So the Christmas of 2022, the Battle Force boxes came out,
Yeah.
and 2 of them were for Traitor Legions. And in those boxes, the Primarchs were in the box.
I noticed that too. I thought
Which
that was really
they
odd.
don't do. Those are very expensive, unique models, and they
Yeah.
were in these just group boxes.
Yeah. I
So-
thought that was super odd. I was
And
looking
then
at
they
it, too.
released a Raven Guard box and an
Yeah.
Imperial Fist box.
Yeah.
We know Dorn's out there, and the leader of the Raven Guard is unaccounted for.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, there has been accounts of Korvax where he's more of a ghost, a warp entity who has been relentlessly hunting the Xenos, or not the Xenos, the Traitor Legions in the warp.
Right.
You know, where he is
But
now.
You can say the same thing about Russ. I mean, he's kind of been doing the same.
But no. But like they he went after Lorgar.
Yeah.
Like there is stories
he
and
went to go-
lore
and
about
then-
like,
and we
no,
know-
I'm gonna go fuck up Lorgar in
And for
particular.
the first time ever, the World Eaters are getting their own codex,
and
all
Primarch,
new
yeah.
models, and Angron's getting its own model. So I'm looking at it from a business aspect of, I think we're going to see Hero Hammer. I think it is literally going to be, from a game aspect, you are not playing 40K if you don't have some absolute monster on the table. We're going to get Hero Hammer. Whatever, it is what it is. It's going to be a giant slugfest. Cool. I'm
Yeah,
down for
yeah.
it. But from a story aspect, to support that, you have to make them all viable in the story again. You have to make it to where when you're releasing mission packs and you're releasing the grand tournament
Right.
and you're releasing all that stuff, you have to be able to write those missions to make sense that all these fucking Primarchs are around.
I mean, this
and it can't
20
just be
plus
because I
years of
felt
stuff.
like it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, just knowing how they released and they did the heresy and all the support and stuff they did for it. From a business aspect, you can go another 20 years with this storyline.
yes.
Before you decide
Absolutely.
the next thing, whatever that's going to be. Somebody puts him back on his throne, kills him, something. I just don't know how you fight the Emperor, even with a coalition of
So
folks.
I don't think the Emperor, from a gameplay aspect,
Yeah.
we will never see the Emperor on the table.
Yeah.
They're never going to make a
Yeah.
model that, if they were going to, they could have done it for Horus Heresy, and that's been
Sure.
around since 2014.
Yeah.
2013, 2014
Yeah,
is when
Forge,
original
yeah.
Horus Heresy came out via Forge
was
World.
doing it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you have an entire game system where he's still very much in the mix.
Yeah.
And they never made a model.
Yeah.
Like he's never had rules. They're never going to make a model. Like it's not going to be. That's not even part of the question, right?
Yeah.
But he's also never been a direct action.
Mm.
Like all of these compliance worlds, he could have just shown up and just been like,
Do what I told you to do.
"Yeah, because I fucking said so."
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
he didn't. We've seen him make entire legions kneel because he said kneel.
Neil, yeah.
And couldn't fight it. Everybody dropped. Like, but he's never been a frontline fighter.
Mhm.
And that's how you get away with it never being in the game, is that
He's just going to be pushing buttons.
he's always the grand architect. Like he always takes that step back.
But are you going to have a legion of word bearers fighting, well, I don't know, fucking.
Now that's where the
Imperial
Imperium is going to
Fist.
be in fucking trouble,
And-
right? Is that the traitor legions are still legions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody else got broken. Like
Yeah.
they did the whole, like, you can't amass this power anymore. So we're going to do chapters
but,
only.
Yeah, but now the Primaris Space Marines, though, I mean.
They're baller.
You just.
Well,
I think you just
there are
decant
several.
a bunch more like there's still tons of them out there at different places. I mean, he's got them everywhere.
Well, but it's also to on your point where there's no loyalist legions anymore. I mean, like I think the Dark Angels have to disagree with you on that one.
First off, they were never loyal.
Okay, well, besides that, yeah, if they're also in the business standpoint, they're hard retconning that shit.
They've never been loyal. I don't give a fuck how you want to slice it, retcon it or not. The Dark Angels have never been loyal. And
Dark Angels have never been loyal. The Lion, they're trying really hard to make him loyal.
They can't. I'm sorry. You'd have to rewrite so many Horus Heresy books to make him look loyal.
I haven't read
It's
those,
not even funny, because if you read Fallen Angels and their first one, I think it's Angels Rise and then Falling Angels are the two, and you can literally read them back to back. Okay. There's the 2 books between them, but you can read them back to back. He's never been loyal. Really? Lion is about Lion, and he doesn't give a fuck about anybody else. The people that raised him and he called brother and the whole 9 yards, he was like, yeah, how about you take a flying leap off the tip of my dick and go back to our planet?
Yeah.
Because I got shit to do and you can fuck off. Yeah. Like, that guy is a dick. Like,
yeah.
Oh God, he's awful.
But then same thing. Like Space Wolves have never broken their legion,
right?
But the Space Wolves they're insular. Like they're like,
but they've never broken their legion. Nope. They openly flaunt that they are vastly unbroken, vastly more than 1,000 Space Marines. They are just like, don't give it, like, we don't know how many we are.
We are a lot more. The Blood Angels kind of do that too. So the Blood Angels are kind of like, we don't really have successor chapters.
But no, they have
they do have successor chapters. But they're much closer to the
at a drop of a hat. Dante can be like, we need y'all. Yeah, we're coming back.
We know that the Fists can still do it.
Fists can still do it
because we know that from the Beast story. From the Beast Arises, what they call the Last Wall Protocol. And all of a sudden, all of these successor chapters just show up, and all of a sudden, there's a legion, and it's like
they were always kind of like different units of the main. Of the Imperial Fist. It always seemed to me like they were just like...
They quite literally took that legion and were like, okay, all the specialty companies, you are all chapters now. Yes. And like, we can just bring you all back.
Yeah, and even then the Black Templars is openly flaunts that they do not have. They have definitely more than, they're probably in close to 10,000 Space Marines.
Well, because they're just like, stuff too that's out there that aren't technically legions, but still exist, right? Yeah. So like the whole secret project that is the Grey Knights.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is awful convenient that you have more than powerful Space Marines that are also all psychers that also have the ability to tame the warp. Like, that is an awful convenient army to have sitting around when you have the most powerful psyker in the world sitting in the same solar system with you.
Yeah.
And you just popped these things into the warp for a quick bake and then brought them all back out. Like,
you make it sound like an easy bake oven.
That's what they did. They were just like, we're just gonna
some 7-year-old making a cookie.
Bleep. And then they brought them out. It was like, hey, look at all these fucking psychic super soldiers we have around. Like,
they're great. They're fucking great.
It's like
super great.
So in your theory of fucking shit, where are the Grey Knights gonna fall out?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So they understand the perils of the warp, and they would understand how dangerous it is to have a warp god in the Materium. And I think they're going to fall on the side of the ones that would actually try to reset the galaxy.
A lot of their power, though, is derived from using the Emperor's name in combat, and a lot of their beliefs.
No.
Like their belief system, like, I'm fighting a fucking demon.
Are you talking about Grey Knights or are you talking about Black Templars?
No, Grey Knights. So
the Grey Knights literally get demon true names and then bind them.
Yeah, they do all kinds of shit, but they use the Emperor's name and power to kill shit, and they're like their belief system,
right? But they don't.
Their belief
magnifies their
belief is so strong that they are able to overcome a lot of these greater demons.
Either that, or they'll be the linchpin for this new religion that's going to go spread through, and it'll no longer be about the imperial truth. It'll be about the truth of the Emperor. And it won't be about.
They're more like
it won't be about the Imperium.
They personify
of
how
man
powerful the Emperor is simply by how they.
And I think that's the shift you're going to see. It's no longer the Imperium of man. It's the Emperor.
The cult of personality.
100%.
I'm in on both sides. So, like I think it
I don't know which. I just it all really comes down to a business standpoint. Like how do I get the most bang for the buck? Do I do it as a drip where this Primarch comes back and this Primarch come back along with this story where people are unhappy and grousing at each other? Like they Gilliman, like he has to deal with a couple of the Primarchs who aren't fucking happy with him. Maybe Dorn comes back and it's like, No, you know what? The Imperial.
We also
fuck
know
off.
that-
it's going to be the Lions.
We also know that he
Lions
can't-
ain't going to be happy.
Gilliman is also not a combat Primarch.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not. Is he capable? Of course, he's a Primarch.
Yeah.
But he's not a combat Primarch. Not compared
He's
to
an administrator.
not compared
Russ
to
or
not compared to a lot of his
Lion
brothers.
or-
Like,
theorist and
Vulcan.
tactician.
I mean, yeah, if you were to put Gilliman against Vulcan in a fight,
yeah.
Yeah,
it's not even close.
yeah.
Like, so, but I think it's interesting. I'm excited to see what they do with the story as a fan of the lore.
Yeah.
As a proprietor of a game store,
Mhm.
I would like to see them do something that's actually shakes the game and shakes the game down to its foundation. Because I think what you'll end up with is a gateway for a lot of new players to get in.
Yeah.
Because right now, the game is not set up to where if you are interested in joining, there's no gateway. Like it's you have to learn everything via fire hose and you're just drinking from it.
Yeah.
And then
I remember doing that. Like, it
and
was
then the
just, like,
only
fucking
way
insane.
to play now is you have to show up with all these hyper competitive people and just get crushed for game after game after game after game.
It's not fun. It's just
Until
not fun
it's
when
just,
you lose.
It's just painful to get
Yeah.
in right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I would
No.
love to see them do something that, I mean, like, from a game aspect and a proprietor, what I would love to see happen is that 10th edition comes along and they literally burn every rule book that's out there to the ground.
Yeah.
It's all gone.
Yeah.
Every codex, every
I
rule book,
100% agree.
everything is gone. There's the new 10th edition core book, and then they're going to release war scrolls for the units.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll get the codexes out or go the same way you did with Horus Heresy, where it's the core book, there's the loyal book, there's the traitor book, and then there's the support books. Every rule for Horus Heresy is out right now, and it's 4 total fucking books. You can own every rule for the game
Yeah.
in 4 books.
No, and I
Well,
100%.
5 books. So it's
And I
the core
100%
and then the
agree
4
with that.
supplements.
Yeah, and especially because for me as a player who is unapologetically like a rule of cool player,
Yeah.
like I don't look at the data, I don't do any of that. Like I know that if I have like a bunch of these units, I know I can statistically do better than these ones.
And what
Like I don't want to. Like I want to have Lucas the Trickster on my army because it's a fun model. Because if he gets killed in melee, it's an automatic D6 roll off if the other person dies, and that's just fucking fun.
yeah.
You know,
and it's also
and
things
it's
like
just like that kind of stuff.
but
It
they
needs to
like
be
to
fun.
advertise things like, hey, if you win this, you're going to get an invite to the grand narrative. But then you go look at what the grand narrative is, and it's not fucking narrative. It's just competitive 40K. You're just there
Yeah.
for the points.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah, what is this?
why don't we get back to we're people, right? We're going to figure out how to make it competitive. Get back to doing it story driven. The players will figure
Yes.
out how to make it competitive. Get rid of it. Get rid of the point system. Get rid of all of that shit and go back to bring the fluff that you like.
Yeah, no, I'm in. I'm 100%.
And that's
in.
why Age of Sigmar is so fucking good right now. So Age of Sigmar, the fantasy version of Warhammer, the gameplay is so good. And you can play 95% of those armies and just play the fluff list you like. Because it makes you giggle when you play the army. And it fucking works. And there's still tournaments. There's still a huge community. It still plays super fucking well.
And then the best part about
And
it,
it's
like,
not toxic as shit, which the 40K community.
Yes.
Jesus.
sometimes if you get deep into it, you need to wear a gas mask.
Like they're a lot of the 40K players just awful fucking people. I'm looking at you. You know who I'm talking to. You know who I'm talking to. If you're one of those 40K players like, well, the meta states are you're that guy.
Yeah.
You're that dude. If you have ever said those words, well, with that new army coming out, I'm really gonna have to look at I need to shift these 5 points over to you're that guy. You're that dude that is more worried about what your rankings are.
So what happens if you've got this big army based on 9th edition rules
Mhm.
and they burn it to the ground and you've got all this plastic and metal, perhaps?
Then you can still play it.
Yeah.
No.
Like-
You can still play it. And here's the deal. Here's one of the beautiful things about Games Workshop. Games Workshop has never stopped supporting rules-wise any model they've ever made.
Yeah.
They're all supported. All of them. Except for when the squats disappeared and now they're back. So, but they're all supported. If you have Space Marine models from 1989,
You
from
can
the
still
old
run
Rogue Trader
Yeah.
days,
Yeah.
you can still run those things in the current fucking game.
Yeah, there's
Like-
Logan Grimnar that is like on foot, which hasn't been a model in
And forever.
30 years.
But you can still run it. You can absolutely still run that thing. Now, you may have to go find the online rule set for the errata that they wrote or the PDF document that came out. It may not be in the current book, but the rules will still be there to support it. So you gifted me that vintage Eldar army that you had sitting around, right? A lot of metal in that box.
Yeah, a lot of metal.
I could strip and repaint all that stuff and rebase it onto the current base size and run every single one of those models. So you're not out anything. Like, nobody's going to be out their army. The worst you're out is the book.
And also shift in perspective. I think that's what he's really getting at, is where it's more of like,
you're going to have to be in a healthy game space, because it's actually going to shake the meta. You don't get to run the same list you've run for a decade. You're going to actually have to go get fucking good at the game.
Right. Knowing people, not knowing the game, but knowing people, that's going to piss.
Good.
You're not going to necessarily lose customers, but
if Games Workshop has a sack at all, they will reset that fucking game, because the number of new players that they will gain, the number of models and books that they will sell if they reset that fucking game would be astronomical. And as shitty as they are at being able to get me product, by the way, Games Workshop North America is nothing more than a logistics company. They are supposed to take cardboard boxes with plastic in them, put them in a larger cardboard box, and then send them to me as a retailer so that I can sell them to people like you. They can't do that efficiently.
Never buy anything from you.
Yeah, I believe you. So,
well, I mean,
but they can't do it. They can't efficiently do it.
I don't know if you're going to. I think your theory. I don't think you're going to get 100% of that.
Somewhere in the back halls of GW, they know the right thing to do.
But
is
it's
to
scary
reset that game. And somebody is just like me at that company. I guarantee it.
So you're going to probably get a 75%.
Any idea how many new players we'd get?
Yeah.
And 40K players aren't going to walk away. They're not. They're going to go on Reddit and they're going to piss and moan, and they're still going to show up and play the local tournament. But
they did it with Fantasy.
They did it with Fantasy,
and they made it better. They did it with Horus, so those are the same. It'll look.
They burnt Fantasy to the ground, and they released Days of Sigmar, and it's crushing.
I 100% agree with Big Jim, where it's like it's scary. Like I don't like it takes a lot of guts to do what you're talking about. I think it's the correct thing to do as a company, but it's
speaking of correct things to do. I'm going to
things.
hard shift this topic right here, because we are just a gaming podcast, right?
Right.
A new book has come out as of the release of this podcast for Dungeons and Dragons.
Right,
and it's been a long damn time, but Dragonlance is back, baby. The War of the Dragon is once again been updated, so we have real rules.
All right.
And the warfare rules are in it.
Well, I am not a D&D player.
Yeah.
I love the idea of D&D.
Yeah.
Sell me. Come on, sell me.
Okay,
What is this?
Here's the deal. So
sell me.
You know what? I'm going to let you go first, because you're a Dragonlance fan too.
What is Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman wrote these books shit in the mid 80s. They were part of the whole the first kind of crew of writers that started writing books.
Cool.
And they had a world, and they played their world.
Got it.
Okay, so the War of the Lance, this dragon queen has disappeared, and she comes back, and you've got a group of heroes that go and fight her.
Okay,
but you've got Dragon High Lord, so each dragon army has a blue dragon or a red dragon, and the rules for the dragons are a little different than Dungeons and Dragons.
Soth is back,
and you've got a Death Knight Soth who can power word kill your ass. He's pretty bad, and then you've got this group of heroes. And the rules are I would say a lot different than Dungeons and Dragons as far as what magic users can do and this, that, and the other thing.
Look how beautiful this book is too.
Ooh.
I just picked it up.
Did you get a copy?
I got a copy.
Look at this thing.
Oh, that is beautiful.
So that's the brick and mortar exclusive copy. So here's the deal. This thing also has the rules for force on force warfare.
Warfare, which is different than the
most
original
of D&D is the 3 or 4 of us. We're just adventurers, and then we boldly go out to
that is
kick
the
the door
that I
in
know.
and fight. Right?
That is the D&D that I know.
It's
where
a blast.
It's
a blast.
You guys
Jim
and
I are in a campaign together, and we play D&D, and we'd love to have you if you ever want to come play D&D.
I want to play D&D a lot,
but we can one off you. You don't have to commit. Like just come and just play.
I'll one off. I will be a co-star.
We can mercenary you in. You can come fight with us for a while.
We're going to do our campaign after the podcast every week. So
I can't do that. But
at any rate, but it's always like 3 or 4 people, and they're on their adventure, and that's it. This gives you the rules for this is me, and that's my sidekick, and this is the 10,000 motherfuckers I brought with me to kick your ass.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so like you could run it to where you and your crew are
Speaking
a bunch of
the
generals.
10,000 motherfuckers.
Okay, so that's the deal. That's the Dragon
That's
Queen,
a red
and she's
dragon. Yeah.
chilling on the back of her red dragon. So it's an absolutely. So Dragonlance, originally part of TSR, and it's this publication of books, but they were just a lore thing, and we haven't seen an updated Dragonlance book. I think since AD&D.
No, so the book,
the
so
rule book to play it.
Yeah,
I think has been since AD&D. The new Dragonlance book came out at Gen Con this year.
Yeah,
Gen Con Indy.
Yeah, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, they wrote some more sequels. There's a bunch of these books.
Yeah,
the reboot.
yeah.
The reboot essentially happened at Gen Con Indy 22.
And then, so Margaret Weiss and Tristan got the rights back. There was some legalese between TSR and Wizards of the Coast, and they solved all that. And they've released another book, which is now a sequel to everything. So it's not a redo or a redux or anything. They wrote a sequel, and I'm like a quarter of the way through.
How is it?
It's a slog.
I haven't even started.
It's a slog because it takes place. So,
but I think they have to inform a whole new public.
So the women.
What
So
the
one
fuck
of
this is.
the main characters is female, and her father gets killed during the War of the Lance.
Oh.
So the only way to bring him back is to go back in time. Well, you know when you go back in time, and then who goes back in time and fucks things up the most? A fucking Kender. So I don't think I've gotten it fucking Tasselhoff yet, but he's still around. He's a Kender. They're halflings, but they're fucking natural thieves.
That's the other thing with Dragonlance is that Dragonlance does not take place in the world of Dungeons
It takes
and
place
Dragons.
on a planet.
It's
called
a
Kryn.
different plane.
It's a different thing.
Yeah,
it's a different plane of
thing.
existence.
The rules and the way magic works is very different. Magic is regulated.
Okay.
Even bad mages have rules. Like they have the bad mages and good mages are still aligned within a rule fabric that they deal with.
Okay.
You've got a guy who the gods are.
Yeah, it's a completely different god list
of gods.
There's species that exist in Dragonlance that don't exist in D&D.
Oh,
the magic works different.
okay.
It's its own thing. So it's actually, as far as D&D is concerned, it's a very exciting update because it's not
much different.
It's not just another story or another whatever.
Fantastic.
If you played D&D and then you went to Kryn and Dragonlance, it was very different. Your magic user couldn't just be like
fireball.
You went through a
fireball.
fucking test, and if you didn't make it to the test, you probably died during the fucking test.
Yeah. So the thing is that like if you're playing a magic user in Dragonlance, you're dangerous. Dangerous because it's all regulated. It's done through schools. There's like an entire policing facility. There's like a regulation on all of it. Whether you go dark or not,
they don't care.
They
That's
don't
up to
care.
you.
It's like, hey, whatever you do with this information
is fine.
That's up to you.
Here is the information.
Right? Think about like law school, right? When you graduate law school, they don't say you're not allowed to be an ambulance chaser. Like you can go do that, or you can go do pro bono family law.
And
whatever
they'll hang out together.
We
they
don't
may not
fucking
like
hang
it.
out.
Like they don't
Whatever
necessarily
the
think
fuck
it's a
you
bad thing, but they
do
still
with
kind of
that-
hang out together.
Yeah. Right.
They have conclaves and they talk and they do all their
whatever
shit.
you do with
So-
your law degree is up to you.
So whatever you do with your magic degree that you got from
But
Dragon Harvard.
You follow the
everybody
rules.
goes through it.
Yeah, and there's no wild magic, so you can't just be like, "Oh, I'm not going to take the test to be a mage." They'll come fucking find you.
Yeah, they'll find you and they
eventually.
just get rid of
like
you.
the IRS. They're going to come find you.
Yeah. So it's
I love bureaucracy and magic.
So all these wars, and then they've got to find this thing and that thing.
But
They
it's
fucking
how
and
they
they travel
fixed-
around. And
it's how they fixed honestly with magic usage. So magic usage in D&D, until you get to higher levels, it's lame. You're far better off taking like a barbarian where you just have a big
That's what I
sharp
do.
stick
That's what I
and
do.
you just beat things to death.
That's
You're
it. That's
gonna
my
have
guy.
more fun than low level
guy.
magic because low level magic is you go fireball. I can't do fuck all the rest of the day.
Yeah.
They're like I have burnt out everything I've got. Like
Fireball.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Dragonlance, when you get into magic, you are an expert.
Well, you're
When-
you're certified to be a mage. You went through a testing procedure kind of
So
thing.
even as a
so
level one within
you have the
Dragonlance,
paperwork attached
you're
to it.
dangerous.
yes, you do. You get like, hey, look, I've got my.
Oh, you've
Lean
got your
Six Sigma.
license and you get
Yeah,
to walk
yeah,
around.
you're a-
with it.
you're a
Yeah,
licensed
you're a
magician,
bad
yeah.
motherfucker.
Do they stop you at checkpoints? Be like, sorry, do you have your pepas?
So
It's
it's an exciting time to release it, and it's a super cool part of the story.
Yeah.
And this is the whole.
That's fun.
So this update for 5e is still during the War of the Lance.
Yeah.
So it's still the Dragon Queen. It's still Soth the Death Knight. Like it's still all of that stuff. So it's
I mean, they did a cartoon. People have been talking about. I mean, instead of doing that I don't want to segue unless we're kind of petering out on this thing, but I have grave concerns about the new D&D movie.
Oh God. No, I'm happy to talk about it. Did you see the new poster?
I heard.
Ooh, man.
I have.
So
I have
you
concerns.
want to talk about made for TV movie looking motherfucker?
Yeah. I'm
Oh
concerned.
my God. So in a market where it is ripe as shit to be able to make a movie
Yeah.
like D&D, and it should make buku money,
bucks.
right?
Just yeah. I'm like with the
My
Marvel universe, the DC universe.
God.
Yeah.
So first off, are we familiar with the D&D movie from the 90s
Yes.
that had
With
the
Marlon Wayans?
With Marlon Wayans.
You
and
mean the
stuff?
cinematic masterpiece?
Yeah. Okay.
Jeremy
so,
Lyons and
With Marlon Wayans, I worship his entire catalog.
Yeah, I'm sure. So that movie was two plucky thieves that are off and get themselves in trouble that they shouldn't have been part of. And it's like
rogues.
It's like a buddy cop comedy that happens, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus, this is awful. And then little leaks started coming out of this, of like people in their costume on set and like on location doing this stuff. And it was like, man, this is looking
Isn't Chris
this is looking
Pine
like we're
part of
getting
this?
darker.
Yes, he is.
Chris Pine's
Pine,
part of it.
Yeah.
the chick from Fast and Furious.
Yeah, the smoking hot Latina chick from
Yeah,
Fast and the Furious. That was on Avatar and stuff too.
And she's a warrior
I don't
of some
know.
sort. And then there's a knight, a
and
paladin.
then
and
they
there's
got all the classes in
They,
there.
they,
right?
they have
So-
all the classes.
And they're
and
a
the
group.
original thing was,
Yeah.
hey, we're gonna be loyal to how the game is played, and it's gonna be
right.
fun and
so
funny.
we were supposed to get this like grittier,
it's not
like
gritty.
believable,
It's
whatever.
not like Andor.
and then that
you know,
Yeah,
it's
and then
not
that
fucking.
trailer dropped, and it was like,
Oh god.
this is crappy CG.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
And they're like, oh, it's
bad.
not finished.
It's like, oh, this is a rough trailer. Then
So
it
it's
was
Sonic
like,
the Hedgehog did.
so we didn't hear anything for a couple months, and then they dropped the poster, and it was like, this isn't even good Photoshop work. Like,
really?
it's awful.
I
This
want to
is
see
not-
this so bad.
So it's so bad. Like, I'm gonna find this poster for you because you're gonna be like, what the like. And what terrifies me is that like I've been a gamer since I was 9, so it's been 30 years of playing on a tabletop.
yeah, but
and-
and anything like the Marvel universe has taught us that you can be both serious and tongue in cheek at the exact same time.
and people are like, oh, it's gonna be tongue in cheek, and there's some funny
So-
things like, what is that called? The owl, like the owl bear in the trailer. People
So
like
this
that
is
was
the-
cool. That was
this is-
literally
it's-
it.
Yeah.
It's in Chinese, but it's the exact same poster.
Oh, that's awful.
It's so bad.
That's so bad. You got the Chris Pine eyebrow, and you got
Isn't that glow effect around his weird artifact thing just awesome?
Yeah,
Like, and it's
just-
like, so let me get this straight. You essentially had all the money in the
Oh.
world, and you're making a Dungeons and Dragons movie, which
And
means
I have a well, and you've got there's people who are like, oh, I play the game and I love it. I want to see what they're like. Joe Manganiello, like what he really thinks. Like he better.
I'd love to talk to him about it.
I want to know when he sees the movie if he's going to be like,
Is that-
because I know he wants to do a movie. He wants to be part of a movie. If you want to do a movie and you've got left and right limits, do that one. Do Dragonlance.
So
Is
I'm
that-
going to
is
tell
that-
you right now.
Who's that right there? What's that guy's name?
I don't remember.
Oh, and that and the bad guy is friggin'
Oh,
Who is that?
Notting Hill.
Notting Hill guy. Yeah, he's
The British dude that always
Yeah.
plays
Yeah.
the like I'm super wealthy and
Oh, I'm befuddling. I'm
no,
befuddling.
no,
I'm befuddling. I'm
funny because I just don't
British.
really understand
and
what's
he's,
going
he's
on.
in a bad
British.
guy and literally won. And the last
Muddling
Guy
before-
Ritchie movie, he was a bad guy and he was great in it.
Oh, he's fantastic.
But
God,
he,
who
he's
the
not.
fuck is
He's
his
the
name?
bad guy. In
Let me
this.
say his name.
Oh, this was even worse. How did you find a worse poster?
That's
So our
great.
producer found a poster that's even worse than the one. Ready?
Oh, let me see this one.
Hugh Grant. That's the guy.
Hugh
Hugh Grant.
Ready?
Yeah, I was calling him Hugo, but
Are you,
yeah.
how much have you had to drink?
I'm
Probably
good
not
now.
enough.
That's
Probably
fine.
not enough for this.
I've had a rough day. I've had a good amount. I'm not even looking at it, and then first take. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
It's so bad.
Oh, it's just like confusing to the eye.
Oh, it's so bad. So I went to film school
Yeah.
after I got out of the army
Yeah.
and I did the corporate thing for a while. I went to film
Hugh
school.
Grant.
I'm telling you right now, on the film knowledge I have and the equipment I have,
Michelle Rodriguez.
I
Michelle
could
Rodriguez.
I could shoot a darker grittier, more true to the purpose of Dungeons and Dragons short film than
You
this
can-
movie is going to
you
be.
You can live in that world and have all kinds of different things because that's the beauty of it.
Which is what it should have
But
been.
Jesus H. Christ, do we have to have this silly bullshit? All the movies have been and they had.
Do you know what this is? This is movie executives going, it's a kid's game. So we need to make a kid's movie.
No, what that is that it is movie executives getting on Reddit and reading funny stories.
Oh, this happened in my campaign.
About this happened in my D&D
You know what?
campaign.
You're absolutely right. That's exactly what this is.
wait. We tried.
I want this included in the movie, and the people are like,
we tried to seduce a dragon. I seduced a dragon.
Yeah.
And they, that's hilarious.
And you know why they seduced Shrek? Because they watched Shrek.
Yeah.
And the donkey did it.
And it's funny. And it's funny if it's your 5 best friends hanging out.
Yeah.
And it's the one guy who always does shit like
but
that.
if you're going to spend $200 million on a movie,
yeah. And if
give
I'm,
it some
if I'm
story.
gonna buy,
there's frivolity in campaigns, but we went and murdered villages and killed fucking vampires, and people were dying because if we didn't do our jobs as role players, as whatever, the heroes, people are dying, or we were going in to fucking smoke people and take their shit.
You're DMing our campaign right now, and the amount of just rowdy things that my character has done. I have literally, to quote one of my favorite movies of all time, Robin Hood Men in Tights. I
can speak in a British accent.
I have spit a man in twain.
Yeah. No,
that's what you do.
That's what you do.
And you can have the funny bar thing, like everybody's hanging out and having a good time.
The bard is doing this.
Then you go fight.
That. Yeah.
And horrible shit happens, and then you can go look. Andor was fucking awesome. Everybody's bitching because it's not Star Wars. No,
yes, it is.
If Star Wars existed, that's how it would be. That's fucking Emperor.
That's why Rogue One. Yeah. That's why Rogue One is so good.
Everybody
Rogue One is a war movie.
Yeah.
That is a war movie, but it goes pew pew instead of bang bang. Like it is. Like that is a war movie.
Stormtroopers actually don't suck. Like they do their fucking. They can actually shoot.
I have not watched one bit of Andor, and I'm really excited to start
You need to watch it because.
I've been waiting for a day off, and I'm literally think I'm just going to get up in the morning, and I'm just going to watch it as like essentially a movie. I'm just gonna.
That's all I'm planning on
just
doing.
Just all the way through. We should have a mandate.
We should do this.
We should do this. We should make this happen.
It's
We'll get
smoke cigars.
We'll probably the way to do it too. I watched it episodically.
Oh my god! Can it be weighted? Can it be a weighted
just a
blanket?
Huge weighted blanket, and we'll just sit there and we'll eat scorching hot Pringles and smoke cigars, and it'll be great.
I want to feel like somebody's just laying on my chest, keeping me warm.
But no, that shows it. But I want to see what these guys say because I know like guys like Joe Manganiello. He wants to do a Dragonlance movie, and some of these other guys. Are they gonna come out and be like,
Joe, if you're listening, I got you, boo. Like, I will help. I'll help with the pitch and the previs. I'll have your people call me because I don't have people.
That is really funny that you said because isn't there like the most like Hollywood D&D group? Wasn't there like
it's crazy? There's a ton of them.
Yeah,
there's like a D&D group that like in Hollywood.
So Joe Manganiello is part. I don't know if I'd call Joe Manganiello Hollywood celebrity. I'll give him that
celebrity,
but like so.
But like it's with like producers and directors and actors.
There's
a
ton of them, and Joe Manganiello. I think he said he spent $150,000 redoing his basement into that dungeon. So
how can you guys not fucking get this done? Fucking get it done.
So
it's good fun. Do your job. Do your job.
It should be to where this could have been taken seriously. So
but they've got fucking Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies. They've got fucking Andor.
There's so much reference where it could be like
things that like
look yes, this is nerd culture. But
Batman. People like dark Batman. It's not a fucking cartoon.
Did you watch the new Batman?
Really
Batman?
It was dark. I couldn't really.
It's a detective movie. I think people were watching it expecting like a Batman action movie, and it's a detective movie, and it's so good.
It's so good.
It's a noir film.
He's a bitch.
Why? Because he was a vampire?
No, because he's a bitch.
I don't know. He was really good in the Batman.
Really good.
It wasn't a bad movie though. I watched.
He's believable. To be honest with you,
he's supposed to be young Batman.
Well, guess what? Young Batman, little bit of a bitch.
Yeah.
Because
I was like, I fucking miss my parents, and I was like, dude,
we get it. I know
that was still like fucking 20 years ago for you.
Man, I'm
like,
still screaming and yelling. I want a fucking real Punisher. All right. You know,
dude, Netflix Punisher was dope.
Netflix Punisher was good.
Joe, I like Bernthal's great. I just need him to fucking grow a little bit bigger. Just
think he was too small.
Frank Castle's like 6'2".
Yeah, he's
240.
he's
fucking
supposed to be
Italian,
6'4".
Okay,
Yeah,
original
Just a fucking
Punisher
brick
wasn't.
house.
You're talking about Garth Ennis Punisher, and that's a different animal.
Dennis Punisher is the Punisher.
It's
Yeah,
my
it is
favorite
now.
Punisher.
It's everyone's favorite Punisher.
But Marvel Max Garth Ennis Punisher is a
But
different
even the
Punisher.
original
than-
Punisher
that
was a
guy
bigger
is
guy.
a brick shit house.
But Garth Ennis Punisher is its own canon. That's its own thing. He's not. It's
Even-
not
dude, even
part of
the
the
first
canonical.
100
I can have
even the
multiple
first 100
podcasts
like,
about Punisher Born.
even
I can have multiple.
Even
I
before
love
that, though, the first
Oh my
100
God.
episodes plus the Punisher Wars, like Punisher fought Wolverine. He went toe to toe with Wolverine, and he was a bigger guy, so he could stand getting the shit pummeled out of him by Wolverine, and he did. And some of the people he fought, I mean, most of the time he wasn't fighting Marvel superheroes, but he was still a bigger fucking guy, and he was a Vietnam vet, and okay. Anyway,
but I understand why I have to
we're
get
getting
away
out
from
of the
that.
fucking
Yeah.
thing. Going back to D&D, I was kind of like, oh, this is cool. This is going to be fine.
No.
And then I've watched the second trailer and I'm like, no, this is fucking stupid. And I like fucking Chris. Like,
Well,
he's
and
a
that's what I was
great
talking
fucking-
about, right?
he's
Is
fine.
great.
Yeah.
if you look at the D&D movie from the 90s where it's these two plucky thieves, they're out and they get in trouble, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at this one and it was like, there's a new D&D movie coming. And I
It's
was
the
seeing all
same
these like
fucking
spoiler photos and it was
Yeah.
like Michelle Rodriguez in her costume. Like
Yeah.
The
it was
costumes
gritty,
suck.
it was dark, it looked good. And then they showed a picture of the villain
Yeah.
and it looked dark and gritty. And all of a sudden I was like, holy shit, are they going to do this right?
Well, that's what
Like, are
everybody
we going to
thought
see
it was.
something awesome?
Mm.
And then all of a sudden it came out and said, honor among thieves. And I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, like-
you guys did it again.
Like, yeah,
It was-
it's a
They
fucking
wanted
team
that
of
this
fucking
bar in
band
there.
of thieves that get in there a little bit deeper than they're supposed to be. And it's like,
Yeah.
why didn't you do this shit where it was legitimately like, no, these are professional adventurers and they've been hired to go fucking pull this job.
I mean, they
Like-
could have done like with the bard, because I understand they're doing the bard thing because the bard is always like the one that you talk about
So-
and like every other thing. But they could have done it with like The Witcher, where it's like the bard gets pulled in and he's over his fucking head.
Yeah.
And the
And
Witcher
doesn't wanna be
and
there.
does
And
not
then
want to be
realize
there. And they're like,
it's-
this is not what I want to do,
Yeah.
guys.
Speaking
this
of The
is not
Witcher,
what I
that
want to do.
that is now essentially the nerd Jesus. Like he is
Oh, yeah, my hair.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill. He's king of the nerds.
Oh my god, he's so good, isn't he?
This man's king of the nerds. He's Superman. He's the Witcher. He
plays
plays 40K.
He's a
Like,
custoder.
it- like,
Last week
Chris
you asked
Bond,
me.
probably not going to be
He-
Bond.
he almost missed his Superman callback
Yeah.
because he was busy raiding in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
So you ask us like goals for the show. I want to interview him. I want to get him.
You know what?
I wanna
actually
get here.
yes. Would I absolutely
here.
love to talk?
I want here, and I will not say a word because I will be like just
There's
just
three.
gan out
There's
on it.
three big celebrities that, as a nerd show, I would love to have. Right?
Yeah.
It's Henry Cavill.
Oh my god.
It's Post Malone.
Whew. Post Malone.
Post Malone, massive Magic the Gathering player.
Really?
Yep. 100%
Even
massive
with
Magic
his,
the
like,
Gathering
stupid
player.
tattoos?
Yep.
Oh wow.
And he's a Texas boy, so
He's
come on
Texas boy.
home.
He hunts.
Come on home, son. And then Joe Manganiello. Like I would
Cavill's brother's a fucking in the Royal Marines too, so we could fucking do a whole vet thing.
Yeah, so
you know,
those are the three I'd love to talk. There's some other celebrities that have dabbled in the world,
yeah.
but those three are just like unapologetic. Like,
this
yeah.
is what I fucking do.
I mean, yeah, they're just
Yeah.
here for it. So,
Yeah.
But I want to see what like Manganiello, because he's the guy who's been fighting. Like how he didn't end up in that movie, I have no fucking idea. Maybe he
$10.
did-
$10 says they floated a script, and he went, "Fuck off! You're
yes, this
insulting
isn't
my
what I'm
game."
doing.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I can't believe Wizards
because he's played the same character,
Yeah,
the same character for like 20 years.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
doing the same thing though. I play the same guy in video games. It's the same guy.
I'm that way now. I just
Yeah.
have Snuggins.
He's
Yeah.
Snuggins. Yeah, I play. It's the same
Snuggins
guy.
is my only character now.
Really?
He's just
I don't even play video games.
he just
anymore. I don't-
he just gets rebooted in every
every
D&D
game.
campaign I play.
It's the same. It's my
Snuggins
guys.
just-
That's what I do
you
with-
don't work hard, work better.
Yeah,
No,
that's
so
we
what
do.
happens is that Snuggins levels up to a certain point, right?
Yeah.
And then inevitably, because it's D&D, the campaign dies.
Yeah.
And then another campaign comes along. So I bring out Snuggins, and then I come up with some backstory on why he
He's
was
fucking Link.
he was so
Tell
many levels and had all this
Yeah.
stuff and whatever in the previous campaign, and then something horrible befalls Snuggins.
Bum, bum, bum.
And then it resets him, and then he goes and drowns his sorrows in a bar, and so now he's not in fighting shape anymore, and
Yeah.
da 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 da.
Done the
So
same-
now he's got to
Yeah,
work his
absolutely,
way
yeah.
back into
Yeah.
being
So,
as good as he
you
was.
constantly make like Fat Thor.
I make
Yeah.
Alcoholic Ragnar?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Alcoholic Thor. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah.
But so maybe he's like, I'm not going to say anything bad, but I'm just not going to be in your movie.
God. Yeah.
I don't know. He was like, oh, we're doing the D&D. We hear this blah, blah, blah. And he was saying shit. And then, So, we're going to see, because I started watching Willow.
The new show?
The show. It's fucking awful.
Is it?
It sucks so bad because my wife hadn't seen Willow. So we watched Willow. She's like, oh, this is cool. Like, it's a kid's movie, but it's a kid's movie. This one's not, and I'm not going to get into
the 80s, so it's just fucked.
There's weird shit. And I wasn't going to be like, oh, no, this one's got some woke shit in it. It's a different kind of, it's just fucking awful. Some of the creatures aren't bad, but it's just, you know how to do a fucking medieval movie. There's enough TV shows that fucking do it right. Just do it right.
Well, and that's what I don't get, right? Is that like you have shows like Vikings and
it's easy.
The Last Kingdom and all this stuff that
do that, but make magic. Like, yeah.
Well, even then, like some of those that came out, there is a magic that's kind of pulled in some of them, or referenced or whatever. And it's like, this can be done.
Yeah.
And you're just choosing to make it as cheesy as you possibly can.
For laughs. Like, do they all have quip? Am I going to fucking have some... Dude, I've been in combat. You've been in combat. I've been getting shot at. I'm not making fucking funny...
a little quip? Yeah.
Fucking in my tank and fucking dirt. And fucking people are trying to fuck... Hey, this is for no motherfucker. I'm trying to...
I'm busy.
Yeah.
I don't have time for...
fucking funny quips. Like, you can have one or two funny quips. Like, I get it. Like, the audience needs to have that. But constantly, it does just
right. And even Schwarzenegger got away with it. Every once in a while, you can just throw the quip in there.
Arnie's almost, but if like even Predator, like not really any fucking quips. Dudes in the combat scenes where they're fighting humans, not a lot of quips, nothing funny. And then when they're fighting the fucking thing, they say shit when Billy's like fucking, whatever's out there ain't no man, and like the bullshit, you ain't afraid of nothing.
No.
Yeah, no, they don't fucking.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but that's what we're gonna get. And I'm unfortunate. But what I am gonna
and
say
we will
is
review that movie in depth
as soon as it's out. I'm sure we'll have things to say.
What movie is this?
The new D&D movie.
Oh yeah.
So we'll have things to say. But until then,
yes.
I came back with a sign off. Awesome.
Yeah, you timed it perfectly, sir.
Yes, you did.
Fucking nailed it.
I'm gonna finish my beer. And I'm sure there's some dice I need to roll somewhere. But boys, thanks for being my nerds, man. I fucking appreciate you.
Skål.
Russ was right.
Cheers.
Oh,
I think we both had good points.
We'll see you guys next time. Go check out Second Pitch Beer Company.
Yeah.
Talk to y'all later.
Yeah, we need
Thanks
money.
for watching Warhammered, because he forgot that.